Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Idle Park Talk Show. We have breaking news. The United States has launched retaliatory strikes on Iran. Yesterday, Monday, June 8th, a U.S. Army Apache helicopter gunship went down off the coast of Oman while patrolling Iranian waters. It is important to note that both crew members were safely rescued. This is not the first U.S. aircraft lost during this war, either from Iranian actions or friendly fire, since the conflict began on February the 28th. In fact, the Islamic Republic of Iran claims to have shot down approximately 30 MQ Reaper drones and several US fighter aircraft. However, this is the very first time an American Apache helicopter gunship has been lost in this conflict. These losses, both in drones and helicopters, have been costly for the United States. Financially, these are highly sophisticated, expensive pieces of equipment worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they cannot be replaced quickly or easily. Beyond the financial cost, there is also a reputational cost. The US military has long been viewed as one of the most powerful military forces in modern history. Yet, after a month of fighting, the aura of invisibility surrounding America's military power appears to have been damaged. Think about it. This is Iran, a country whose most senior military leaders were assassinated in the opening days of the war. A country whose navy has reportedly been devastated, whose air defense systems have been repeatedly targeted, and whose missiles capabilities, according to President Donald Trump, have been severely degraded or destroyed. Yet, despite all that, Iran continues to shoot down American drones and has now brought down one of America's most prized attack helicopters. The United States military has relied heavily on the Apache helicopter, the MQ-9 Reaper drones, the FA-18s, and the F-35 fighter aircraft as part of its effort to challenge Iran's effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. From the Iranian perspective, however, these aircraft are operating inside what Tehran now considers its territorial waters and airspace. Iran insists that it has sovereign rights or authority over the strait and has repeatedly stated that foreign military activities in the area constitute a violation of Iran's territorial integrity. To demonstrate its control, Iran has implemented several measures. First, Tehran established what it calls the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, a body responsible for regulating and authorizing maritime transit through the Strait of Hormuz. Under this framework, ships are expected to obtain authorization and follow specific procedures. Unauthorized passage is treated as illegal. Secondly, Iran Iranian authorities have used their Revolutionary Guard naval units and fast attack boats to challenge vessels they consider to be transiting the strait without authorization. Thirdly, Iran has repeatedly targeted US naval vessels and military assets that it believes are facilitating unauthorized passage through the waterway. From Tehran's perspective, US helicopters and drones operating over the straits are violating Iranians' airspace and are legitimate military target. Earlier today, President Donald Trump declared that Iran was responsible for downing the Apache helicopter and insisted that the United States would respond. And respond it did. Approximately a few hours ago, the United States military began what it described as retaliatory strikes against Iranian targets. In a statement posted on social media, U.S. Central Command described the operations as a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. Now, that raises an interesting question. Who initiated the aggression? Was it the United States by operating military assets in an area Iran claims as sovereign territory? Or was it Iran by shooting down a US military helicopter operating in those waters? Regardless of where you stand on the debate, it is clear that both sides view themselves as acting defensively while accusing the others of provocation. Iranian Foreign Minister Saeed Abbas Arachi responded on social media, noting that the Strait of Hormuz is thousands of miles away from US shores. He added, foreign forces in proximity to our territory are at constant risk on account of their own human error, plane accidents, or potentially being caught in crossfire. To reduce risk, the best solution is for them to leave. The timing of this incident particularly interesting because it comes at a moment when both sides were reportedly moving closer to a potential peace agreement. This raises another question. Was someone looking for an excuse to derail the negotiation? Was this simply an unfortunate military accident, or was it an opportunity to reignite hostilities? Who benefits from renewed fighting? Certainly not Iran, and arguably not the United States. So, who? That is something to think about. Nonetheless, the military response came quickly. Multiple explosions were reported across southern Iran, including on Qasem Island. Iranian news agencies Tasnim, Mehr, and Fars reported explosions in Bandar Abbas, Sirik, Jak, and Qasem Island. According to reports, two water tanks in the Bemenin district of Sirik were destroyed. Iranian media also reported that radar installations and missile defense sites were amongst the targets struck by US forces. Interestingly, if these reports are accurate, they raises questions about repeated claims that Iran's radar and missile defense capabilities had already been largely destroyed earlier in the conflict. US Central Command later released a statement saying CENTCOM forces struck Iranian air defense, ground control stations, surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz with precision munitions from US Air Force and Navy fighter jets. The statement concluded by saying that the United States forces have completed what they describe as self-defense strikes. Historically, Iran has often taken time before responding to military attacks. That has not been the case during this war, because shortly after the American strikes, Iran launched its own retaliatory operations. According to Iranian state media, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched drone attacks against the US Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. The IRGC stated that clashes were ongoing and warned that heavier retaliations would follow if US military operations continued. Iran also confirmed that American strikes had targeted locations in Jak, Sirik, and Qasem Islands. At the same time, the IRGC announced that its aerospace force had launched long-range solid-fuel missiles against an air base in Jordan that hosts US military personnel. According to Iranian claims, four critical targets were struck, including an including F-35 hangars and a command and control center. Iran described these strikes as part of a broader retaliatory campaign that allegedly targeted 21 American air and naval facilities across the Gulf region. Meanwhile, reports from Kuwait indicate that air defense systems were activated to intercept what were described as hostile aerial targets. As has been the case throughout much of this conflict, Iran's retaliatory efforts appear focused on Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, and countries that host significant US military infrastructure. Interestingly, there have been few reports of strike targeting there have been no reports of strikes targeting the United Arab Emirates, despite Abu Dhabi's historical hawkish position towards Iran. In my view, Iran's rapid response in, is intended to send a message. The message is simple. Iran will not allow the United States to strike its territory without consequences. Every action will be met with a counteraction. Every escalation will invite a response, actions, and consequences. For now, both sides appear to have concluded their immediate rounds of attacks. However, it would be premature to assume that tensions have returned to where they were before the Apache helicopter was shot down. This remains a rapidly developing story. Over the next several hours, we will be watching closely for additional military activities, further damage assessment, new statements from Washington and Tehran, and any indications that either side intends to escalate further. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis informative, please like, subscribe, and share our channel. And as always, we will continue to follow the story and bring you the latest developments as they unfold. See you again shortly. Thank you.